why didn't everyone decide that this was important 10 years ago? But of course, everything takes time. Why did you invest? Why did you choose to invest in an employee advocacy program?
Yeah, no, it's a great question because honestly, I was really passionate about this, and really the trailblazer for the company. I actually joined ActiveState just 6 months ago, and one of probably one of the first things I did was I said, we really need social media sharing, because I was looking at my team and saying, one lady on my team in particular, she was the person in charge of social media content, and I saw after a while she was actually posting, post after post after post after post on our LinkedIn, our Twitter, or our Facebook, etc. I never saw the vast majority of them. I even on LinkedIn was obviously following our company, and I never saw them. It was rare, maybe once a week, I would see one of our postings. So I'd ask her, I said, where are all these things? And she sent me to our company's LinkedIn page, at which point I could see some more. Like, I know you. I know you're actually posting more of these. I'm even going to our page proactively, and I don't see these. So where are the rest? And she said, well, it just kind of, as you know, it's all based on algorithms and things like that, what you see and don't see. I said, we're a little company. We are, and we've reinvented ourselves over the years, many, many times. So very, very few people know us for who we've been over the last few years. So very few prospective customers actually proactively come to ActiveState and say, oh, let's see what ActiveState thinks of this, or oh, let's see what they have to say about this, or anything like that. So I knew I actually had to get the word out. And at a prior company, we had a social media sharing platform very similar to Everyone Social. And so the very first thing I did, in fact, I touched bases with our internal marketing person from my prior company, still a good friend of mine, and he told me the company that they use, and I contacted them, and they were just, in fact, they were actually not really even in that business. They were predominantly employee to employee communication. I'm like, well, that's not going to fit the bill for me. I need to actually communicate out to customers and prospects. So I found Everyone Social, started talking with your sales rep, and things just clicked. This is exactly what I'm looking for. We're a small company. I've got a very, very small company budget. So I really needed to be able to get the word out and proactively get out to the market without having to spend just tons and tons of advertising dollars to do so. And Everyone Social really gave me that opportunity.
Well, you just touched on a whole bunch of different things that are things that we think about. One is just the difference in how platforms treat brand stuff, right? Like, to your point, like, where are these posts going, right? So there's that whole thing. Do you guys spend money on ads? I mean, presumably online.
Yes.
How do you think about that, and as compared to what you guys are building with your advocacy program? Like, what's your view of ads today, in particular on the social networks, if you're spending money there?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly important to do. It's important to have a presence, but I've found that that on the non-paid side, it's much better, especially if it's me, or the holy grail, of course, is one of our developers, because they're really, we produce developer tools. So our developers are actually an RSVP. So when one of them shares out a piece of content, it is 1,000 times more valuable than any ad I could ever purchase, or even anything that even any social media, non-paid social media that we could post from the company, because it's coming straight from the individual. So therefore, the overwhelming implication is that no, it's this person they're actually putting their personal stamp on it. They are communicating it, not this kind of nameless, faceless organization out here somewhere. And so it's really between that and the fact that I will never have enough budget to get out there as much as I need to in order to bring those leads in. And in fact, we've done analysis. It says, okay, how many people are coming in from ads? How many people are coming in from social media? And it's usually, a couple. Maybe it's a couple each week.
Mhm.
So that's what really got me thinking about things like Everyone Social, because I really wanted to be able to. We do some really big stuff. We do important stuff, and especially when I send out like a press release, for example, on some big new feature or some new component that we really want to get out in the market. I would even have my team member say, okay, take that post. I want you to post it to our Slack channel and encourage we have an all company Slack channel, where I encourage everybody to actually share that out. But even then, it was a little bit clunky because there wasn't like a direct link from our Slack channel to actually go ahead and send it out. So that's just, again, it just got me thinking again, it's like, I need a much quicker, easier way to do it and really start bringing some of those leads in. Start, even if I'm not bringing a lead in, I want to create noise and I want to create awareness about our organization. And that will eventually lead to leads coming in.
Yeah, I don't think it's a new thing, although it's being repackaged by some people to sound like a new thing, but just the idea of demand creation, right? I think there's been this obsession over the last few years of, we should only be doing things that have this kind of, bright line, kind of attributable path to converting a lead, or whatever. And especially in the world of B2B, as as well as anyone, the path to a sale involves not only a whole variety of kind of points of exposure and actions, but all sorts of people too, right? I mean, especially if a deal is sizable. So one thing I wanted to touch on, though, you've done something interesting, at least from what I've heard, is you actually have engineers, kind of to your point of like your ICP is one of your engineers. You actually have technical folks at ActiveState participating in your program. Is that correct?
To an extent, yes. They are a little less big on using the platform, but I do actually have we've sold it, and one of the ways that we've kind of sold it to them is we brought them in early into the process and actually had them kind of give their advice and guidance. And so what we did is we actually broke up rather than doing an all company training as would normally be done. We kind of trained, okay, here's your marketing and sales. We'll train them first and add an administration. And then when we come to like product and engineering, let's do it separately for them later. So in the I guess about 3 or 4 weeks now, 5 weeks since we did that initial training, what we did is we actually went out to the product and engineering teams and asked them, say, hey, how do we make this better? And what we did is we got a lot of input and feedback from our CTO, who is a lifelong developer himself. And he said, listen, do not go out to these guys and just tell them all this great content, send it, sell it, let's push it out. He said, first of all, you need to make sure that they truly understand that this is optional, because if they feel forced into it, they're just going to shut down. Because apparently the company has tried things not exactly like this, but similar to it many, many times, and they've all failed. And the reason is because when the developers kind of get the impression that this is required, they completely shut down, and they really don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing out branded content all the time. So we actually started working with our implementation manager, and she was fantastic, and really started explaining to us, no, look, you can have all these different channels. And she even actually recommended let's get your developers, your engineers, kind of together and have them help populate the more, because we have a branded channel, we have some other pieces, and then we have like a news channel, just kind of industry news. And she said, have them help you populate what that industry news is. So we actually found kind of for what I could think about 4 or 5 volunteers on the engineering team who were actually really into it. And they gave us all sorts of channels. So we just simply asked them, where do you get your feeds? What do you think is the most valuable places to get the information that you get for the industry? And help us populate this channel. So that particular channel is for developers by developers. And that's the way we actually got them to buy into it, because now they're actually going out and selling it to their friends. And as a result, we actually have a lot more of the engineers. In fact, we actually haven't even done the training yet for the engineers. That happens next week. But in the meantime, we have probably about 6 of them already signed on. Four of them, I believe, who are on the initial team, but then 2 others who weren't even on the team to actually give us that input have signed up and started sharing content out.
Well, I think you're doing all sorts of right things. I mean, UGC, right? So getting content from people, beyond just simply the marketing team. And another thing we've seen with other clients too is like basically bestowing that kind of moderator privilege on people.
Right.
And in particular, I mean, it's hard to pick and choose those folks, but I can see how it would work well with engineers. I know one of our other clients that I'm always seeing extremely technical content being shared is AWS. And they have, I want to say, over 50 group moderators, folks who are contributing content, approving content, and some of their top users in terms of shares and the results that they're generating are coming from folks in technical positions, not, kind of the typical recruiter, salesperson, marketer, et cetera. One question I wanted to ask, what's your experience been working with the Everyone Social Client Success team so far?
Oh, it's been fantastic. There is no issue that we've run into that they can't fix like immediately. In fact, we haven't even run into any particular strong issues at all. Everything's been going very, very smoothly. But whenever we do have a question or have anything at all, or want to tweak things a little bit, it's pretty much done before we punctuate our sentence.
Well, that's good to hear. What would you say are your team's kind of biggest marketing challenges? I mean, obviously, you've made a choice to have employee advocacy be a component of your strategy, but kind of at the highest level, you look forward over the next year plus. What are the biggest challenges that you and your team are facing?
Yeah, because of our size, it's really 2 things. Number one is we're never going to have enough people to do the job, just like most startups. And the second thing is we have a very, very tiny budget. So those are really the biggest things that I face every single day. So I'm always trying to do as much as I can, as efficiently as I can, because essentially it's the whole trying to do more with less.
What in that regard? I mean, I know you have kind of vision for advocacy. Where does it sit kind of amongst your basket of things? I mean, given that you are very budget constrained as we all are at some degree, what made you kind of have conviction to pull the trigger?
Yeah, it really came down to, so first of all, it's very, very high up on my list because it's the one thing that we can do. First of all, having the platform made my my social media manager's job a lot easier. So it actually freed up a lot of her time in order to be able to do more. So I actually gained people, but I gained a higher percentage of her because things that she was spending an inordinate amounts of time doing she actually could spend less time on. And of course, being budget constrained, like I said earlier, we need to actually find a way to quote unquote advertise without spending any money. And the Everyone Social really enabled us to do all that. So I was able to streamline her job so that she actually had more time to do other things. And now with the employee advocacy program, we're actually able to get the word out in a lot of different ways, and people are adding their own content to the top of the message. We have multiple moderators, so everybody is kind of spending a little extra time doing these things from throughout the company just because they want to, and that's been a game changer for us.
What would you say to leaders, perhaps someone in your position at a different company that isn't, especially B2B, that isn't fully bought into the value of social, or maybe hasn't even kind of started to think about the value of even activating their people?
Yeah, your employees are your greatest source. You cannot underestimate the value of your employees saying good things about you publicly. And just kind of a testament to that, I think we've actually had Everyone Social in deployment for about 6 or 8 weeks now, and we've actually already gotten 2 or 3, not leads, but actual opportunities come to us. And straight from somebody who has actually shared out a piece of content, somebody in their network whom they know at other companies has come back and said, hey, let's talk about this because you posted this thing. It's exactly a problem I've had. Can we talk? And actually wanted to have a phone call with that person right away. And that is invaluable. You can't, in order to actually go through traditional marketing and advertising channels to get that kind of inbound conversation going, takes months and months and months, and tens of thousands of dollars and several people to actually get that to happen. Whereas here, it was free, and it was one person just making a post. So that kind of goes to the value of that employee saying good things about you, or just simply helping spread the word amongst their friends and business contacts.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, our view, going back 10 plus years ago, and part of why I'm less confused now, but I was more confused in years past, was just kind of like, a lot of times when you're starting something new, or, even pursuing an initiative inside of a company, you're kind of thinking about, well, like, what's the problem, that we're trying to solve? And there's probably always some sort of underlying problem, but for us, we just thought about this as like, wow, there's so much value just sitting there on the table, right? Like, I mean, everyone, be it ActiveState, Everyone Social, AWS, whoever, every single employee has a network, and 100% of their connections may not be leads, but there's some in there, and there's some prospective hires, and there's influencers, and there's partners, and yeah. So I mean, it's really exciting to hear that you've seen some of that in such a short period of time, and it's at some level, it's not surprising. I mean, I think the deeper that you go, the more people you get activated, the more the more that you start to see those types of results.
Right.
Looking forward, what do you think is, I think we're similar sized companies. So maybe just talk, and I know you've worked with some much larger companies as well. What do you think is going to separate kind of marketing winners from losers? It seems to me that just anecdotally, kind of looking at what people are posting, having conversations with marketing leaders such as yourself, that we are living in a point of change right now. That the 5+ years ago of like content marketing and inbound organic and email and a lot of these kind of brand disciplines, to your point, like things are getting more expensive. We have limited budgets. Results are in some of these areas, seemingly on a continuous deterioration. I guess what's your view of the future? What do you think the winners are going to look like versus the folks that are really going to struggle?
I think the winners are really going to be those who are looking at a wide range of tools and always trying to figure out what the up and coming is. As we all know, and kind of what you've alluded to, email, we rely heavily on email, but I know that it's not going to be there forever because we've seen it degrade as a tool over at least the past 5 years, if not the past 10 years. And we know it's just going to continue to degrade in its efficacy. Webinars are a pearl in our it's certainly in our tool set, but they're degrading. People are having kind of webinar exhaustion, especially now with the in the COVID / post-COVID world. Everything is virtual now, so virtual events, webinars, things like that we've all relied on, they're kind of degrading in their efficacy. So having a lot of different types of tools are really, and having that ability to be able to mix and match and continuously change and modify as necessary is really what's going to separate the winners from the losers. The losers are going to be those who really just kind of hang on to hey, this has always worked, so let's just continue down this path. We don't need to look at new things, or they don't even, it doesn't even enter into their consideration set. Those are the people who are just going to start and continue to decline.
This may be the same answer, but I think I was talking with an acquaintance the other day about who's very deep in the SEO world. He's kind of a original SEO guy, and he started Moz, if you know what that tool set is. And we were talking about ads, and he made the comment that, well, look, you really don't know if ads are working unless you turn them off. Right. And I think there, as with a lot of things, there's fear and trepidation around kind of moving to new areas and doing new things. What gives you the confidence as a marketing leader to try new things and take chances? What have you learned? How do you think that perhaps could be useful to someone else looking to gain some confidence to try something new?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not even necessarily confidence so much as it is seeing the data coming in every day. That it's not confidence so much as it is, holy crap, what am I going to do? That's different, because the things I've been doing, the things that worked at my larger companies, the things that worked when I was leading product marketing teams 5 and 10 years ago, are not working today. Whether they're not working today, or they're not working in this company, or whatever it happens to be, things weren't doing what kind of my experience and background has told me should work. So it was really more of a moment of, okay, I got to figure something out. I got to figure out right now. And really, it's kind of, the necessity is the mother of all invention. I had necessity to find something new and to look out and kind of look outside the proverbial box to figure out other things that I could, other triggers I can pull in order to bring those leads in.
Do you think we're at a moment of change in the world of marketing?
I think we're always in a world of change in marketing, and more so now than ever before. And that's probably more directly to your question. I think we're living in dog years now, where if you were to walk away, go on sabbatical for 30 days and come back, things aren't going to be the same 30 days from now. So yeah, we have to continuously be looking at new stuff.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Social at Scale podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please be sure to subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, please let me know. You can access past episodes on our site at everyonesocial.com/podcast. As always, please feel free to connect with me directly on Twitter or LinkedIn, and look forward to seeing you next time.